The first and most important step to be able to play in the pocket, to be able to groove, to be able to have perfect time and control over where every note sits in space and time, come from fully mastering the placement of every 16th note partial all over the drum set, around our body, and in our mind. There's a bunch of exercises that help speed up this process, but the best one is the old 16th note accent grid. I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process to use this grid around the drum set with all your limbs in a lot of different ways to quickly develop the tools and control to play whatever you want, however you want. This exercise is about perfecting the placement of each partial within the grid. If we have the ability to be perfect, then we have the choice to lay back in the beat, or to push forward in the beat, or really whatever we want within playing in time. Without this, everything is kind of random and chaotic. So first, let's talk about what we're doing. We're going to accent each partial with all the 16th note taps around it, and then we're going to take out the 16th note taps and isolate the partial, focusing on the relationship between one and the partial itself. We're doing this all within a 4-2-1 grid, which means 4 beats of variation, and then 2 beats of variation, and then 1 beat of variation. We're going to build this from the ground up, so we're going to start with just our hands, then we'll add our feet to it, and then we'll play this all at the same time a few ways as beats. But just like anything else that we do, we want to start at a slower tempo than we think, and once we're nailing it absolutely perfectly, we bump up 5 to 10 clicks, we repeat the process. Go for perfection. If you can consistently hit perfect reps, then you push the tempo up. You just keep repeating this process, building and building and building, and then you're able to do kind of anything. The last thing I'll say about timing, start with your metronome on 16ths so you really know exactly where these things are supposed to go. Even within 16th notes, there is wiggle room. You know, there's 32nd notes and there's 16th note triplets and stuff. So we want to make sure that we're placing stuff exactly on the 16th note grid and not anywhere around it. Then switch to 8th notes and see how it feels with that, focusing on the space in between the 8th notes, and then quarter notes, focusing on the space in between 1 and whatever partial you're accenting. So let's do the first step with just our hands on the snare. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, but without all the taps, without all the inner beats. And I'm going to count the quarter notes out loud. All right, now let's add our feet into the mix. First, we're just gonna do the same thing, but we'll play our bass drum on the quarter notes. All right, same idea, still bass drum, but we're just gonna isolate each partial. All right, same process again, but this time right foot, bass, 1 and 3, left foot, hi-hat, 2 and 4. right, let's make some beats out of this. We're gonna play a basic beat, eighth notes on the hi-hat, snare drum on 2 and 4, and then we're gonna go through the grid with our bass drum. All right, let's flip it. So now we have eighth notes on the hi-hat. We're gonna have bass on 1 and 3, and we're gonna go through the grid with our left hand on the snare drum. All right, the next one's a little bit harder. We're gonna put bass on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, then we'll go through the grid with the right hand on the hi-hat. All right, lastly, we're gonna fully displace everything on the grid. So I'm gonna just keep eighth notes on my hi-hat. I'm gonna play a basic beat, like kind of, you know, the feel, bass, snare, bass, snare. Every partial that I'm accenting is gonna switch between my bass and snare. So again, if you make all of this part of your practice routine, your timing, your feel, your groove, your pocket, it's all gonna get so much better very quickly. At the end of the day, this exercise is just an exercise, but it teaches you how to place all these partials in space and time perfectly. So applying this to your normal playing is the same concept as applying technique to your normal playing. It gives you the tools and the knowledge to do things correctly and to keep yourself in check. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. Make sure to check the description for a link for the free PDF of everything we just did today. There's also a link down there to my website where you can take private lessons with me. There's a link to my Instagram where I show my professional life as a drummer. And there's a link to my music, which is available on all platforms. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.